We are the clay. God is the potter. We are the ones who seek to change and renew the living of our lives. God is the one who gives the strength, the courage, the gifts we need. We begin the Advent journey. It's a journey that is filled with enormous hope for every one of us, because we live in a time when hope is so important to our well-being. Hope for peace in the world. We hope for the gifts of new relationships. We hope and yearn for the forgiveness of the things we have inadvertently done or intentionally done that we would like to do over. The reading from Isaiah speaks of a people and of a place that is ancient, thousands of years ago, and yet when we bring our daily life and our contemporary eyes to this reading, it could be as familiar as this past week. It speaks of a time when the Jewish people were busy, preoccupied, forgetful. Not everything was getting done that they might like to have gotten done. They were focused on the things of their daily living. Perhaps the necessities of life, entertaining guests, preparing a feast, a holiday meal, all of those things that become very consuming. In the midst of the joy, the laughter, the fellowship, very consuming. Yet, God says, you, in the midst of all these things, can sometimes forget. And so we encounter those words in Isaiah that speak of a God who is attempting, with all of God's might, to remind us of God's intention for the living and the doing of our lives. God's call, God's hope for the living and the unfolding of our lives. I would like to celebrate with you this morning some of the accomplishments of our faith family in this past week. And it's not to say that we did everything God called us to do, but we need as a family to embrace the opportunities that God gave us. Last Sunday afternoon, some 40 teenagers in this congregation went out in cars and gathered gifts of food and turkeys with the intent of creating holiday food baskets for at least 30 families. They created 32 baskets, laundry baskets, boxes of food, enough to feed a family for an entire week. And these families were connected with the Department of Children and Families in Wallingford and Meriden, families who are experiencing a loss of hope and a desperate despair in their lives. And the gift of hope that was given was this congregation's sharing of something, food, from our cupboards and closets. 32 baskets. And you heard Glenn this morning say that there were turkeys left over for the community dinner. On Thursday, I was here in the morning for a portion of that event, Congregational hall was packed with people. I prayed with them, gave thanks for the meal that had been prepared. And as you know, anyone who is alone on Thanksgiving Day is welcomed into that meal. Anyone who desires to come and have fellowship is welcomed. Anyone who is at home, missing out on the Meals on Wheels program, or homebound in any way, a meal is taken to them by volunteers that day. Well, they served over 400 people on Thanksgiving Day with the food that had been prepared. Another gift of giving hope in the midst of challenging times, lonely times perhaps, for a lot of people. The gift of hope. Now, the third thing that happened this week, really kind of amazing. Our Holy Joe's Coffee House Ministry Outreach has partnered with Khalida Airlines, which operates out of Newark, New Jersey, and flies all of the U.S. mail to Afghanistan. Khalida was in contact with us about a month ago and said, "We have extra space on our flights. We would take coffee to the bases where it is needed." And on Wednesday and Thursday, Thanksgiving Day, Khalida Airlines flew 56 pallets of coffee to Bagram Air Force Base in Afghanistan. And those pallets of coffee were gifts from Green Mountain Coffee Company in Waterbury, Vermont, to our effort to provide coffee houses as a tool for the chaplains, a caregiving ministry. And the Keurig Company gave us 100 commercial-grade machines to fly with that coffee. It was delivered on Wednesday and Thursday to the lead chaplain at Bagram Air Force Base. A gift of hope. You're far away from home, and as you heard Chaplain Schultes say a couple of weeks ago, the regular coffee at the mess hall tastes like something that comes out of a Humvee, the radiator of a Humvee. Here we are sending premium coffee for caregiving ministries in coffee house settings, bringing hope and care and support. And you've heard the word hell, H-E-L-L. The commanding general at Bagram said, "Where did all this come from?" to the lead chaplain. And the lead chaplain said, First Congregational Church in Wallingford, Connecticut. And the commanding general says, "What the blank church can pull this off?" So we've had a marvelous week of incredible outreach. We've given hope to local families through Department of Children and Families. We celebrated a Thanksgiving feast here in the church downstairs. And we delivered coffee to troops overseas. Tom says it's about 560,000 cups of coffee. Only Tom would know that number. Now, back home to ourselves and our own personal lives. And